Hello students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be able to solve equations and you're going to do 2.4. And today students will be able to review the steps of solving equations. I noticed that some people get confused with some equations that are a little bit more complex. So that's why we're doing this review to make sure that you get it, because we're going to be using this for the rest of the next 2 years. So first of all, you need the inverse operations. We have been seeing them. Remember that addition cancels with subtraction, subtraction with addition, division cancels with multiplication, multiplication cancels with division. So they're just inverse of each other. Okay, so we're gonna start from very simple to more complex, so you just get the hang of it. This is adding 3. The opposite is to subtract 3. And remember that this equal means that whatever is on this side is equal to on that side. If I subtract 3 from here, it's like saying, now I have 3 less. Now they're not equal, so I have to subtract 3 on the other side as well, and that makes them equal. Okay, so if whatever you do in one side, you do to the other. 3 minus 3 is 0. Is the inverse property of addition. So when you add opposites, they cancel. And so x is equal to, excuse me, if you have 0 and -3, the answer is -3. You can always do the checkup test. And I'm going to do it really fast because we've been doing that before. So the checkup test is to replace the value where the x is. So instead of x, I'm going to put -3 plus 3. Is it equal to 0? And so when I have a -3 and a +3, they cancel each other. So you have 0 is equals to 0. So we say check. Okay, so that's the first one. The next one says 3 times, if there is nothing in the middle of a number and a variable, that means multiplication. So 3 times x equals 6. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So we divide by 3 both sides, and the answer is x on this side. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So that's the answer. Again, for the checkup test, you just put 3. Instead of x, you put the value, and you can just put a dot, or you cannot leave it without the dot or the parentheses, because it's multiplication. You need to put the dot or the parentheses. The value of x is 2, so you replace it. You substitute this in here, and that should be equal. Is it equal to 6? So again, 3 times 2 equals 6. And 3 times 2 is 6, so we say yes, so we say check. The next one, it's in a form of a fraction. Whenever you see a fraction, that means division. The opposite of division is multiplication. If we're dividing by -3, we're going to multiply by -3. Notice that how in multiplication and division, we multiply or divide by the same sign. That's very important. In addition and subtraction, it looks like it changes the sign, but in division and multiplication, we keep the same sign when canceling. Okay, very important. So this cancel. I have x is equal to negative times negative, positive. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, so that's the answer. For the checkup test, all you have to do is replace this 18 right there. So instead of x is 18 divided by -3, and we pose a question in here. Is it equal to -6? Let's look. Positive divided by negative, negative. 18 divided by 3, 6. Is it equal to -6? They're the same, so we say check. In here we have two-step equations. So we have a multiplication because there is nothing in between the number and the x, and we have a subtraction. For equations, we're going to cancel the subtraction and division first. I mean, the subtraction and additions first if there is no division. Okay, like in this one is a little bit different because of the division, but in here, if we're multiplying and then adding and subtracting, first cancel the adding and subtracting. So if we're subtracting 2, the opposite is to add 2. We get negative 4x is equal to 10 plus 2 is 12. This means multiplication. The inverse operation of multiplication is division. And if we're multiplying by negative 4, we're dividing by negative 4. Okay, in here, addition and subtraction, the sign changes, but not in division. If it's negative, then we divide by negative. This cancels, and we get x is equal to positive divided by negative is negative. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that's going to be the answer. In here, one other thing that you need to do is that if you're dividing by negative 4 in here, that same negative 4 is in here as well. Okay, some people will say divided by negative 4 and then they change it to positive. Or sometimes they divide by, like in here, they put one positive in here but then a negative in here. No. You have to have the same sign in both of them that you're dividing. In here too, the same sign. The checkup test is you're going to replace this value right there. It's going to be negative 4 times the value of x is negative 3. Get rid of the x, okay? Minus 2, and that should be equals to 10. This you're just going to bring down the same, but in here you're going to do PEMDAS. Okay, so first the multiplication and then the subtraction. So negative 4 times negative 3 is positive 12 minus 2. Is it equal to 10? 12 minus 2 is 10. So we say, yay, it is equal to 10. So we say, check. Okay. In here, we say that we usually get rid of the plus or minus first. But in this case, this is shielded by the division. Está protegido por esa división, so we cannot get rid of the plus 5 first. First, we have to get rid of the division of 3. So if we're dividing by 3, the opposite is to multiply by 3. Okay? Again, we cannot get rid of the plus 5 because everything is divided. If we get rid of that, we're going to get rid of a fraction, 5/3, and we don't want that. Okay, so that's why if we're dividing by 3, we multiply by 3. That cancels, and we are left with x plus 5 equals 2 times 3, 6. If we're adding 5, the opposite is to subtract 5 from both sides. And x gives me 1. So now let's do the checkup test. We're going to replace this value because we found out that x is 1. So let's replace it in there to see if it's true. So x is 1 plus 5 divided by 3. Is it equal to 2? 1 plus 5 is 6 divided by 3. Is it equal to 2? 6 divided by 3 is 2, which is equal to 2. So we say check because we have the same in here. Okay, so I'm going to give you one more and then I'm going to give you some for you to try. Let me give you this one. And the first thing, there are two different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you with distributive property. So the first thing you do is distributive property. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9 equals 3. If we're subtracting 9, the opposite is to add 9 to both sides. We get 3x equals 3 plus 9, 12. This means multiplication. If there is nothing, it means that you're multiplying. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing by 3. And so x is equals to 4. Let me do the checkup test. So we're going to replace that in here. And we're going to use PEMDAS, okay? So the x is 4 minus 3 equals 3. PEMDAS tells me that I need to do whatever is inside of the parentheses first. It's going to be 3 times what's inside of the parentheses is 4 minus 3. So 4 minus 3 is 1. Is it equal to 3? 3 times 1 is 3. It is equal to 3, so we say check. Okay, so I want you to try these ones on your own. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. Take a few minutes, pause the video because I'm going to give you the answers right now. And then I think I'm going to go over these last 3 after I give you the answers. If you got something wrong, then you can always, oh, so here are the answers. Too late. These are the answers. Hopefully you already tried them on your own. I'm going to go over numbers 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to explain them because those are the ones that are a little bit more complex. For the other ones, I think you can figure out, if you got it wrong, you can figure out what happened. Okay, so let me do numbers 6, 7, and 8 for you. Okay, so let me zoom in again. There you go. Okay, I'm going to do them right here. I'm not going to go do the checkup test, but I'm going to just give you the answers. So 3x plus 11 equals 38. The opposite of adding is subtracting. And you get 3x equals 27. This is number 6. And if we're multiplying by 3, the opposite is to divide by 3. Remember that we don't change the sign on division or multiplication. Positive 27 divided by positive 3 is positive 9. So that's the answer for number 6. Number 7, you have negative 2x minus 5 equals negative 9. So in here you have to be very careful with signs. If we're subtracting 5, the opposite is to add 5 to both sides. You get negative 2x equals, we have different signs, so it's negative 9 and positive 5. We subtract 9 minus 5 is 4 and leave the sign of the greater one. So the greater one is negative. Finally, if we're multiplying, careful, there is nothing in between the number and the x. So that means that is multiplication, the opposite is division. Some people say, oh, this is negative 2, I'm going to put positive 2. I'm adding 2. No. This is multiplication, I'm going to divide. And if I'm multiplying by negative 2, I'm going to divide by negative 2. Also that the sign stays. And whatever I divide in here, I divide in here. This cancels, and negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1x, but we don't put the 1 in there, equals negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. So that's the answer. And number 8. So number 8 says x plus 2 divided by 5 equals 2. So in here, I cannot get rid of the plus 2 at the beginning because it's being shielded by the divided by 5. The first thing that I'm going to get rid of is, if I'm dividing by 5, the opposite is to multiply by 5. Es como un escudo. This is like a shield, and that's why you get rid of that first. Okay? So x plus 2 is equals to 2 times 5 is 10. And if I'm adding 2, the opposite is to subtract 2. And so the value of x is equals to 8. So this is, again, what you need for 2.4. And I hope it helped to review some of your concerns with either integers or how to solve equations. So have fun.